Hello and welcome. This is James from the DSO Imager channel. And tonight I thought it would be fun to show you my progress that I've made over the years by imaging the same target, in this case the Horsehead Nebula. I had just finished processing some data that I captured um, this this past winter, December, January, and I thought instead of doing the typical workflow video, this comparison video might be a nice change of pace. So December 2016 for Christmas, I got my first astrophotography rig. It was a CG4 mount that I picked up used from Craigslist. The telescope was an Orion ST80. This is a 80 millimeter f5 achromat, and the camera is a DSLR that we had already had at the time, a Nikon D3100. And of course, like most folks that are starting out, I cut my teeth on Orion, and then I quickly wanted to capture the Horsehead. And here it is in all its glory. So, from what I remember with this picture, it was about a little over an hour's worth of exposure. It was taken at in the front yard of my house. This was I moved a couple years ago, but when I started this, I was in a Bortle 7, Bortle 8. I did not have a clear view of Polaris. Of course, there was no guiding here, and you can barely make it out. As far as processing goes, I think this was processed in Deep Sky Stacker, so that's how green I was. Let's let's see though. Of course, I didn't process it right as well as I could have. Let's see what's in there. So, yeah, I mean, you can see it a little better with with the STF auto stretch in there now. Uh, I mean, at least the flame nebula showed up pretty good. So yeah, this was January 2017. So a month later, I went to a dark site. It was a Bortle 2 or a Bortle 1. Same mount, same telescope, same camera. And I think this is, if I remember, I don't have any of the raw data. I think it's like 40 minutes, 30, 40 minutes worth of exposure. I took a picture of Orion that same night too. It does look blurry though, doesn't it? And we've got some problems here. When I came home from the trip, I noticed that the screws that hold the focuser in were loose and the whole focuser was shifted. So that impacted the image quality, but I was still pretty happy with how that turned out. I don't remember what I used to process this. It could have been Deep Sky Stacker, it could have been GIMP. Maybe I had gotten the Photoshop by this point. But we can apply an auto stretch to this. And I mean, that actually looks pretty good color wise. So, I mean, the picture had some potential. Alright, let's fast forward about a year. So, late December 2017. And this is with a new rig. So, in the spring of 2017, I picked up a Celestron AVX. The package included the 6-inch Newtonian, and I had picked up a Nikon D5300, still unmodded, and I think this picture was also taken at that same dark site location. I don't remember what the exposure total integration time was on this, but I mean back in those days, usually around midnight, 1 a.m. I would pack up and head home. So, you know, at most we got a couple hours in this one. All right, let's fast forward another year, a little bit more than a year, March 2019. And this is another equipment upgrade. I picked up my first cooled CMOS camera, an ASI 178 mono, and still using the AVX, and this is with a Stellarvue SV70T. Now, this is one of my earliest SHO or Hubble palette type images, and was a real benefit because I was still in that Bortle 7, Bortle 8. My window in the night sky, I only had about 3.5 hours to track this object, and narrowband is what allowed me to really make a difference. For processing, it was done in PixInsight. Uh, the way you can tell is clearly I used that SC&R tool and obliterated all the green that was in there. But anyway, I was pretty happy with the way this one came out. I mean, it's got issues on it. You can see I had some calibration file struggles. Um, if I was to critique myself beyond the green, I went, it's too dark in here and it's kind of noisy. But still, at the time, I was pretty happy with this picture when it came out. And, to keep things in perspective, I mean, this represents 2 years worth of progress here from this to that. So anyway, moving right along. Another equipment upgrade, this time with the ASI 1600 mono. So we get a much larger field of view compared to that tiny little 178. And more integration time. This picture was taken at my new home, so December of 2019, I moved from that Bortle 7.8 to a Bortle 4.5. Now, I still had some issues with this one. Of course, I took all the green out. My way of dealing with a massive halo I was getting in the 03 was that I put 10%. I did the channel combination with Pixel Math. So I put 10% HA in the blue with the 03, and that actually tamed the halo really well. The halo was huge. It was like it almost encompassed all of the flame. We still see the classic square pattern that you get from the ASI 1600, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. I think because I did do that 10% of HA in the blue channel, that it messed with the color a little bit, and that's why we have like this flat brown. And I used a range mask and boosted the saturation here. I mean, I was never fully satisfied with the way this looks. It looks a little artificial, but anyway, I felt it was a nice improvement over the previous attempt. I don't recall how long the integration was on this one. I don't believe it was a lot, probably around 10 hours or so. And let's move along. Now, this was a very short integration. It was only 3 hours. This is with the Edge 8 and the ASI 533 MC. And I don't remember exactly why I went so short on this. My equipment was in a state of flux at this time. I was having some issues with my Skywatcher EQ6. The mount ultimately ended up getting replaced. My ASI 1600 had failed. That was sent back to ZWO for repair. The vendor who I bought it with held on to it for 6 months while they were collecting more broken cameras. So it took me 9 months to get that 1600 back. Pretty ridiculous, but anyway, it was just a weird situation, and I think that's probably why I didn't spend as much time. I mean, looking at this picture here now, I kind of regret not getting more time. If I had gotten maybe 10 or 12 hours on this probably would have looked pretty amazing. So yeah, November 2020 on this one. So my most recent picture was taken earlier this year, December, January of this year. This is SHO using 6 nanometer astronomic filters. It's on the Celestron Edge, and the camera is the 294 mono. It's less than I typically would like to expose for at 17 hours and 50 minutes, but it's decent enough, and it cleaned up really well. We've had terrible weather lately, and so I didn't process this until this week, and I was pleasantly surprised by how it came out. And I think next season I'll continue the tradition and maybe image this again. I have that AT115 EDT that might do a nice job, and I kind of want to go back and pile on some time in LRGB and see what I can get close up. But anyway, that's what I got here. I'd love to hear thoughts and comments on these images, and clear skies.